Most boys or men don't know what they want in high school and college. They're just, most of the time, they don't really know what they want. Take this from your big sister. Most of the time, they don't know what they want. They're just looking for the shiniest and prettiest thing. And I'm not saying you're not shiny or pretty. I'm just saying that some people's perception of beautiful is so it's so tied to society that they themselves don't even understand their own biases until they grow up into an adult and develop their own thoughts, their own feelings, and be like, oh, wait, what I think is beautiful does not just have to fit this thing. It can also come in this shape, this size, this blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I understand it's easier said than done, but don't take it too hard. It's like we have all been conditioned in one way to see XYZ presenting people as more attractive and more beautiful than the next. That is why beauty is so subjective. Across cultures, it's so different. Sometimes even across cities, it's so different. Honestly, just focus on yourself. This is why I always tell you guys to focus on yourself.
Hello and welcome to Kitchen Table Advice. My name is Paula and I am the host of this podcast. This podcast is a place where you can ask for any advice you want. It can be relationship, both platonic or romantic, career advice, or life advice. I wanted to create a space where people could ask questions without fear of rejection. I can't guarantee it'll be good advice, but I can guarantee there'll be no shame on my end. Your name will be anonymous and your identity will always be kept a secret. This is not professional advice, and I am not a licensed therapist or psychologist, and you are under no obligation to take this advice. Just think of this as advice you would get from a close friend on a kitchen table. So, let's begin.
Hello, my wonderful gems. How are you? I hope you're doing amazing. If you're a returning gem, welcome back. If you're new here, hello, how are you doing? If you like what you're listening to, then please feel free to like this video and subscribe to our channel. As usual, we'll just jump into the first story of the episode. And if you watched the last week's episode, you'll probably realize I'm wearing the same outfits because these videos were shot on the same day. But yeah, tad bit of information here, but let's just jump in. So the title of the first story is Terrified to Date. That's always wow. Alright, so we'll just jump in. I'm a 25-year-old woman and I've only ever been on one date. So now I'm terrified to do so. I remember thinking that it was just too much effort and overall annoying to have to go on a date, lol. I've also never been kissed or even really hugged a male that's not a family. I think my anxiety stems from a combination of things. I hate that I have to meet someone on an app because I don't do much socially. I'm also super self-conscious. I like self-confidence and etc. But after reading through some books, I realized some other things that might be playing a role. I've literally never had any male give me attention in high school, college, and etc. Any man that looks in my direction, I think is interested in me, but like I feel like I'm a middle schooler, if that makes sense. I don't know how to describe it, but basically I feel very immature in this area of my life. I feel like I'm so behind and so many men my age would just not want to deal with a girl who is so new to everything and inexperienced. All I want is a happy marriage with kids. ... Sometimes I question if that's even what I want though. I never picture my life any other way, and I feel like it's my purpose in life to have kids. Anyways, how do I get over my fear of ever going on a date in the first place? Wow, I did not think this was gonna go like this. I'll just give my advice. You are 25, so I still think you're relatively young, but I do kind of want to ask you, why do you feel like it is your life's purpose to have kids? Is it something your parents put in your head that you have to have kids as a girl, or like to continue the family line? Or do you feel the purpose of continuing the family line, which is why it is your life purpose to have kids? And yeah, so that's just my first question. And second, there's nothing wrong with you being inexperienced. You'll actually be surprised by how many people are looking for people who are inexperienced. Caveat though, some people may be looking for that because they think you're naive and they can just use and abuse you. So this is when you have to use discernment. However, if someone really loves you and really cares about you for who you are, they don't care if you're experienced or not. They really don't. Okay, they just love having a conversation with you, getting to pick your brain about stuff, or maybe they just love your presence. Sometimes you being beside that person is enough. Experience, yes, it's nice, but you have plenty of time to be experienced once you are in a relationship with someone who does want to experience those same stuff with you. Because I advocate for consent over here. I don't care who it is. But that's the first thing. Don't feel too self-conscious about you being inexperienced or not. There's some people who are going to reject you because of your inexperience. Yes, there are. There are also some people who are going to actively seek you out because of your inexperience. Yes, there are. Some of those people might be terrifying. So let me not say that. Maybe they're not terrifying, but some of those people may not have the best intentions in their minds. However, the person who is really there for you, the person who really cherishes you, is going to stick around whether you're experienced or not. And that is the person I would advise you to go toward. So that's that on the inexperienced thing. And another thing, you're super self-conscious and you lack self-confidence. And I think this is probably stemming from the fact that you feel like boys or men did not give you attention in high school and college, or maybe I like, how do I put this delicately? Very delicate. Listen, how do I put this delicately? You feel like they didn't give you attention when you were in high school and college. But to be fair and to be honest, most boys or men don't know what they want in high school and college. They're just, most of the time, they don't really know what they want. Take this from your big sister. Most of the time, they don't know what they want. They're just looking for the shiniest and prettiest thing. And I'm not saying you're not shiny or pretty. I'm just saying that some people's perception of beautiful is so it's so tied to society that they themselves don't even understand their own biases until they grow up into an adult and develop their own thoughts, their own feelings, and be like, oh wait, what I think is beautiful does not just have to fit this thing. It can also come in this shape, this size, this blah blah blah. So it's like, I understand it's easier said than done, but don't take it too hard. It's like we have all been conditioned in one way to see XYZ presenting people as more attractive and more beautiful than the next. That is why beauty is so subjective. Across cultures, it's so different. Sometimes even across cities, it's so different. Honestly, just focus on yourself. This is why I always tell you guys to focus on yourself. You cannot seek external validations to make yourself happy. You cannot look towards external validations to give yourself a sense of purpose, because that is the worst thing you can do. This is something else that some other people may not be able to tell you, but you need to understand that whatever validates you can potentially control you. If you're validated by by male attention, then guess what? You're going to be controlled by a man whenever he points, I don't like this about your face. I don't like this about the. I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like that. You might go get plastic surgery, and there's nothing wrong with plastic surgery. If you want to get it for yourself, by all means do it, but don't do it for someone else. And they point all these stuff out about your body or about your face. You go get plastic surgery, and guess what? That same man is going to cheat on you with someone who looks completely different, because they don't listen. Listen, this is a little caveat. This is a little advice from your big sister. Most people out here in the world don't know what they want until they actually see it. And even then, they might not even be sure that that's what they want. So don't worry yourself with stuff like this. So that is the one thing I really want to say. But I can also understand how you not being approached by a guy or them not talking to you as a romantic prospect may make you feel as though when one does give you attention, it's like, the love of my life, Prince Charming, yeah. So I get where that comes from. I definitely understand that. And I'm just going to have to ask you to train your mind to not think that every guy who says hi to you or greets you or opens the door for you is your future husband, or you guys have some type of soul connection. I have heard it all. from both men and women, okay? You see, I think this just stems from you are terrified of leaving your comfort zone. And right where you stand right now is comfortable. It's okay for you to be terrified of dating, but at 25, I would tell you guys this, you're 20, you use of exploration. At 25, I think it's also important for you to put yourself out there and be able to explore new things. So if you feel like you don't have any close friends, and just go out on a certain go out and do certain stuff around your town. I know that like every town has a certain type of thing that it's known for. You can go out there and just try to talk to some people. You may find some tourists there, or I know recently around my town it's like this weird yoga class they do outdoors. It's just you'll be surprised by how many people actually want to talk. But you are going to have to engage that conversation, even if it's just you saying hi, how are you doing, what's your name. You'll be surprised by how many people are willing and able to talk. And yes, are there some people who do not want to talk to you? Absolutely. They don't have to. That just means that person is not for you. And you just move on to the person who does want to talk to you, who does want to engage with you, who does want to know more about you. But I would just say be open to trying new things. I feel like this is a fear of leaving what you're familiar with, because you've only been on one date. You don't have much experience dating, and you are terrified of going out on a date. Don't go out on a date for now. Try easy stuff. Just go out and meet new people organically. You don't like meeting someone on an app. I feel you on that. I don't like meeting people on an app. I prefer meeting them in person. And I know a lot of people who also prefer meeting other people in person, which is why I'm giving you this advice. Just go out and organically meet people. And don't go out with the intention of meeting the love of your life, or meeting your future spouse, or meeting whoever. Just go out, take life the way it presents itself to you. Sometimes you're going to have crappy days, but sometimes you're also going to meet wonderful people who do want to engage with you, who do want to interact with you, who are going to give you their number, and you're going to keep up with them, and potentially they can be a really good friend to you, who are also going to help you explore other facets of your life, or introduce you to other facets of your life. But yeah, this is why I always give you guys the advice of when you're in your 20s, please go do what you like. Go explore. The world is your oyster. Anything that you think of trying, just go out and try it. You never know who you're going to meet there, who's going to introduce you to your future spouse, or maybe your new boss who was looking for you with this particular skill. Like, honestly, life sometimes can be a game of luck and a game of chance. And the only requirement is for you to put yourself out there. You're not going to meet people in your house. I understand your house is comfortable. You're familiar with it. You know where everything is. But you're not going to meet people in your house. If you really want a chance in this life, you want a chance to find your life purpose, your future spouse, your other half, whatever, or your perfect career, you're going to have to go outside. You're going to have to meet people. You're going to have to meet crappy people. And you're going to have to meet good people. And through those lessons, you're going to learn more about yourself. You're going to learn more about the type of man you want to be and the type of woman you want to be. You're going to learn more about what your non-negotiables are and the stuff that you can potentially compromise on. All of this comes with life experience. You're not going to get that in the four corners of your house. I'm sorry. I wish you could, but you can't. It's something we all have to go through. And once you go through that, you'll find out that life is not as terrifying as you think it is. It's just like the monster under the kid's bed. They're terrified. But once you go down your bed, you lift up your sheets, you see there's nothing there, or maybe it was just your shoe. You're less terrified. The more you know about something, the less terrifying it gets. The more comfortable you are with it, and the more you're able to understand it and give you a brand new perspective, which is why I always tell you guys, please go explore. Please go explore. Don't feel limited because you're scared. Yes, this life is scary, but in the same breath, it's also full of love, joy, and passion. And you're not going to get that in your house. Are there scary stuff out there? Yes. I'm not going to lie to you and be like, oh, they're not. No. This life can be very terrifying, but it can also be very joyful, very happy, very compassionate. Are there evil people out there? Yes, but there are also nice people out there who are looking for you. But they're not going to find you if you're in your house. They're not going to find you if you're scared of going out. They're not going to find you if you just play video games all day or do whatever people do in their house. But actually, even in doing video games, people still connect through games, so that's not even a good analogy. But they're not going to find you if you do not socialize. Yes, they're not going to find you if you don't socialize. So try to put yourself out there as best as you can. Obviously, do it safe. Listen to your intuition. If something seems scary, hop out of there really fast. Listen to your intuition. Listen to your instinct. Try to be as safe as you can, but also don't be afraid to take a bit of a risk. Yeah, so that is my advice on this story, and we'll take a quick break and we'll come back with our second and last story of the episode. Hello, we are back with a different hair, different outfit because it's a different day, and we're just jumping as usual. The title is Worried About This Time in My Life Being My Peak. Okay, I think I know what it means, but anyways, let's just jump in. I was having a discussion at breakfast today with my sister about being in our 20s. Your 20s is your peak? Okay, let me stop. She's younger than me by 2 years. She got to the point where she told me that scientifically, the early 20s is usually the peak for women. Okay. I'm in my mid-20s and I've made it my goal to start working on myself. I told her that it's ridiculous and that it couldn't be my peak because I'm working on myself more now than I believe I should be mentally and physically better than I was earlier. She told me, quote unquote, yeah, I wouldn't put too much hope in that. Okay, I'm just going to stop you right there. Whenever people say peak for women, it's just for men. It has nothing to do. The so-called 20s is the peak for women. It's for men to feel like they have a beautiful girl on their arms. It has nothing to do with you being a woman, but it has everything to do with you being an object. This is why I always tell you guys, your 20s are your years of exploration. I don't want you guys to be tittered to these people who think you should be married in your early 20s and brought down because you don't know anything about yourself. You just became an adult. If you're in your 20s, you just became an adult like 2 years ago by the time you hit 20, if you're in the West. And if you're in other parts of the world, you don't even become an adult till you're 21. You're not peaking anywhere in your 20s. Maybe the only time you're peaking is for male attention and male validation because apparently when you become 30, you become a gremlin. A gremlin with knowledge, a gremlin who's more happy with herself, a gremlin who knows exactly what she wants in the world. So it's like that, but that's for men. That's not for you as a girl. You don't have to subscribe to these archaic notions of women are only worthy for how they look or how young they look. Sometimes it's just how young they look, how young and naive you look. But I'm sorry. I'm just going to go back in the story. That just upset me really, really bad. But anyways, let's continue. This kind of crushed me because she continued on saying that basically someone in their 20s should be getting most of what they needed done now. Well, she's 2 years younger than you. She hasn't lived long enough. Because it gets harder to do once you hit 30. She says that mentally and physically you decline. Why are you listening to your inexperienced younger sister for life advice? But anyways, that's why we're reading it here. I'm feeling pretty disillusioned by her saying all of this because although my sister can be pessimistic, she's also a realist. And sometimes I wonder if I'm being too optimistic about life. The first part of my 20s was spent during the pandemic, and I grew up with strict parents. So she's made me feel worried that I have a very limited time left to catch up. She's also made me feel like maybe it's too late to fix my appearance. I've never really been able to feel pretty and wear nice outfits and such. I feel like I never really got the chance to be a young girl in her 20s yet. I feel like I haven't really physically changed much since like about 18, but now that she said that Now that she said that, it's kind of making me worry if the clock is ticking. I just don't feel like this can be my peak at all. If it is, then what's the point of improving? I spend so much time just being at home and doing nothing that now I have a chance to improve. How can it be over just like that? In a matter of less than a decade. I probably shouldn't listen to my sister, but it still gets to me. Well, yeah, you probably should not be listening to your sister. But yeah, I guess I already gave my advice in the middle. I was just like, there's so many weird notions out there that a woman peaks in her 20s, a woman peaks in her 20s, but it's just, what science is that based on? It's like, are we forgetting that until a couple of years ago, women were not allowed to work? Women were not allowed to really do any major contribution in the world. So I'm not gonna throw the science out because I do see a lot of people saying it, but I need to read that article. I need to read that scientific article that says a woman peaks in her 20s. But I have heard a lot of people on social media just spew out nonsense like that and say a woman peaks in her 20s. And it's like, your 20s is a great time. Don't get me wrong. It's a wonderful time because you are fresh out. Hopefully, you're either living with your parents but not full time because you're either at school or you're working, you're getting an entry level job, or you are not living with your parents, you live with roommates. It's a new way. I think of your 20s is a transition period. You exiting out of your parents' house and you slowly discovering who you are and who you want to be while still having the safety net. Hopefully you have the safety net. I know some people don't, but I think most of our parents nowadays are aware that the economy is just weird and different than in their time. So the way I think of your 20s is a transition period into you becoming an adult. Because I can imagine how you're only 20. Well, I can imagine how you feel like you haven't changed that much from when you were 18. Of course you haven't. You're only 2 years young. You're only 2 years older. You don't change that much from 20 to 18. It's actually not a big jump. It's virtually the same. That's why I tell you guys your 20s are your years of exploration. It can be scary to go out there in the world, find out stuff you like and you dislike, but it's in that journey, it's in this transition period of your 20s where you can go out with relatively low risk and still kind of go back home. No one is going to look at you sideways. Where you can really find yourself, really find what you like, really find what you dislike, and really find who you are as a man or a woman. And this whole women peak in their 20s it's purely physical. It's purely physical. There are some gorgeous 30-year-olds out there. So even in that just being based on physical, the older women who are still gorgeous and people still consider them gorgeous. So it's like, what is it really based on? Because mentally, your brain does not finish developing till you're 25. So the mental stuff is, no offense, your sister's full of crap on the mental stuff. Science says your brain does not finish developing till you're 25. Your prefrontal cortex does not finish developing till you're 25. So how can you peak mentally in your 20s? Maybe physical peak in your 20s. I would say that, but even in your 30s, physically, you're still agile. So it's like, eh. But the whole 20s is the peak for women is because it's a perfect time for you to be, I don't want to be a cynic, but this is also the reason why I tell you guys to explore, go find out what you like, go find out what you dislike, and be free, be a free bird, and the world is your oyster in your 20s because your 20s, you don't know a lot of stuff. And yes, you're smart, you're intelligent, your parents have prepared you for the world, but this is your first time you actually going into your world, applying what your parents have instilled in you. You realizing maybe this worked for my parents in their generation, but it is not working right now and you need to pivot or do something else. That's what you discover in your 20s. You're still naive, you're young, you lack experience. These are not bad stuff. All of us have to go through it. And it's in that process that you learn, okay, this worked for my parents, it's not going to work for me. So I need to change it for me. I need to tailor it to me. I need to do what feels right for me. That's where my advice comes from. Your 20s are your years of exploration. This is where you apply all the knowledge that has been instilled to you by your parents, by your community. It can even be your friends. You can see your friends doing something, you want to try that thing out, and you're like, it worked for her, it's not working for me. But then you change because there's relatively low risk. And if something does happen, you can hopefully rely on mom and dad, and they're not too far away. Hopefully. Okay. But still go out here with caution. I'm sorry, something happened, so I had to come back. And I think I was saying something along the lines of going out there, relatively low risk, and you can rely on mom and dad. Hopefully, you don't do something dumb that can cost you your life or your freedom or put you in jail. That's what I mean. But you can explore, you can travel, you can go to another city. If you can travel to another state or another country, you can do that in your 20s, and no one is really going to bat an eye. So, yes, that's where it comes from. But the whole peaking thing, that's purely for the men. That's for the male gaze, for male validation, for male attention. I mean, if you're all for that, then yeah, peak in your 20s. But then you're going to feel a sense of lack of self-esteem, lack of self-worth, lack of you knowing who you are, because in your 20s you were just chasing after men, and then you realize that you know nothing about yourself. And that is a very dangerous place to be. In life, you don't want to be what I would call a headless chicken. You're just pulled here and there by these external forces, and you have no control as to how you're showing up, as to who you are. You have no say so because you haven't had that time that other people have in their 20s to grow into themselves, learning, I like this and I don't really care much for this. Or this is okay. This is not so much. Or maybe during a certain time I would do this, but under these conditions I'm not going to do it. You haven't had time to really explore and know what you like, know what you dislike, and know who you are. And it's in that process, in that exploration, in you going towards your likes, you trying stuff you just think are interesting, that you start knowing who you are, what you like. You discover new stuff about yourself that you may not have known were there. And it's in that exploration, it's in that work that you can now base your self-worth, base your self-esteem, because you know exactly who you are. And if anybody comes up and tells you, oh, you're not really like this, you can tell them to F off. if you are that type of person. Or you can tell them to you can just tell them off and be like, no, this is exactly how I am, and I've done the work, I've gone on the journey, I've done the exploration, and I've come on the other side and realized that this is the type of person I am, and if you don't like it, you can leave. And that is empowering. Regardless of how you get there at any age, knowing who you are, knowing what your likes are, is empowering. And it is. It is empowering and it is amazing. And a lot of people are going to respect you for that. Regardless of how old you are. Whether you're a 30-year-old gremlin or a 20-year-old peak. I don't know. But yeah, that is it. That is my advice on that. And goodbye.